All right, ready to dive into a new field. Today, it's all about geography. Though, when I hear that word, I kind of think back to, what was it, third grade?
Uh,
Memorizing state capitals, all those colored maps.
yeah, I get that. Not always the most thrilling memories, are they?
Definitely not. But honestly, prepping for this deep dive I did, like a total 180,
No.
I had no clue how much geography plays into, well, everything. Like, we're talking about how we interact with the planet, the way humans fit into the whole picture. It's way more dynamic than they taught us back in the day.
Right. It's not just about locations on a map. It's about understanding the relationship between people and the Earth. I mean, when
Yeah.
you break it down, that's what geographers really do. They're investigating those human and physical aspects of our world and how they influence each other.
Okay, now that you mention it, I am remembering a bit from college, but you're saying it's even bigger than that.
Well, absolutely. We're talking about analyzing how communities interact with their environment, for instance, or even how political systems can impact the physical land itself. For example, did you know geographers even study things like how globalization affects resource use, even down to the environmental impact?
See, now that's what I'm talking about. It's like suddenly geography is this key to understanding how the whole world fits together?
Exactly. And the best part, sometimes those connections are the least obvious ones, the ones you'd never expect.
Okay, so we've got these geographers out there playing detective, uncovering all these like hidden connections, but what are they actually doing all day? I mean, is it all like Indiana Jones with a map instead of a whip?
Well, I can't promise any ancient temples.
Yeah.
But yeah, field work is a huge part of it, especially for those focused on the physical environment.
So there's some adventure involved then. All right, I have to admit, the idea of braving the elements for science, that's kind of cool. Though something tells me it's not all, glamorous expeditions, right?
You'd be right about that. The source material we've got here, it mentions, let's see, harsh weather, rough terrain. I think even mosquitoes made the list.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You can't exactly uncover Earth's secrets just sitting behind a desk. But speaking of uncovering things, we've got to talk about how technology is changing the game here. What's in a modern geographer's toolkit these days?
Oh, wow. Where do I even begin? One of the biggest game changers has been GIS, Geographic Information Systems.
GIS. Okay, that rings a bell, vaguely.
Basically, picture taking those old school maps, the ones we were talking about, and like putting them on steroids, giving them supercomputer power. Now we're talking about layering all sorts of data points, population, elevation. You can even factor in things like traffic patterns, all to see how they interact.
So instead of a static picture, it's like geographers are working with this like dynamic model of the world constantly updating. What does that actually let them do that wasn't possible before?
Oh man, it's incredible. This is going to sound out there, but like with natural disasters, by analyzing things like weather patterns, historical flood zones, even soil composition, geographers can actually model the potential impact of, say, a hurricane. Sometimes even predict its path accurately enough to help with evacuations and save lives.
Whoa. Okay, no, that is seriously impressive. It's like suddenly a geography is on the front lines,
Yeah.
helping us prepare for some of these major global challenges.
Exactly. And GIS is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got to talk about remote sensing too. Think satellites, aircraft, basically anything that can capture images of the Earth from way up high.
So instead of having to be on the ground, geographers can track changes over what, like huge areas,
Yeah.
all from a distance.
Precisely. And get this, we're not just talking pretty pictures here. I mean, they are pretty amazing. But by analyzing things like infrared light, which we can't even see, they can track deforestation, monitor crop health, even assess how pollution is impacting coral reefs, all from those images.
Hold on, so we've got these incredibly powerful computer models, a bird's eye view from space. It's like geographers have this whole toolkit now that lets them understand our planet on a whole new level.
Totally. Oh, and I almost forgot there's one more tool I have to mention.
Yeah.
One that most people probably use every single day without even realizing.
Okay, hit me with it. What's this everyday tech that's secretly a geographer's best friend?
Think about when you're driving, trying to find the fastest route. GPS.
PPS, like getting directions on my phone, GPS?
Yep, that's the one. But it's not just about navigating traffic anymore. I mean, geographers are using this data to track animal migration, monitor glaciers melting in real time, even map how diseases spread through a population.
Okay, so what you're describing, it's pretty mind-blowing. Honestly, way more high-tech than I ever pictured geography. But for someone listening, maybe thinking, this is all cool, but like, what's the relevance to me?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the answer is it's relevant to all of us, more than we realize. Because we're not just talking about collecting cool data, we're talking about using it to make decisions that impact our lives
Yeah,
every day.
that's right. I mean, we touched on natural disasters earlier, but I'm guessing the applications go way beyond that.
Way beyond. Urban planning, for one. Think about it. Geographers are using GIS, data analysis, all of that, to design cities that are more sustainable.
Hmm.
Everything from transportation to resource allocation, even deciding where to put parks and green spaces, for the best quality of life.
Wow. So even just like walking to work or where my kids go to school, those decisions are being informed by geographic data.
Exactly. And it goes even further. Think about resource management.
Hmm.
Understanding things like water, soil, the impact of agriculture. That's crucial for, feeding a growing population sustainably, which is a huge issue we're all facing. Geographers are right there on the front lines.
This is making me realize how much geography underpins all these big global challenges we hear about. But I don't know, maybe never really connected back to this field. It's like a whole new way of looking at
And
things.
that's what makes it so fascinating. Now, let's say someone's listening to this, totally intrigued and thinking, okay, but how do I actually become a geographer? Where do I even start?
Right. It's got to be a bit more complicated than just memorizing maps these days, right?
Just a tad. The typical path still usually starts with a bachelor's degree in geography or a related field.
Hmm.
But what's crucial now is developing those specialized skills. GIS, data analysis, remote sensing, those are becoming absolutely essential.
So you're not just understanding maps, you're working with them in this like digital space,
Uh-huh.
analyzing huge sets of data, drawing conclusions. It's a whole different skill set.
You got it. And those skills, let me tell you, they're in high demand. Academia, sure, but also government agencies, environmental firms, even tech companies are seeing how valuable geographic expertise is.
It's amazing how much our perception of geography has evolved even since we started this deep dive. I'll admit, I walked in with that old image in my head. Memorization, maps, maybe a little dry, But what we've uncovered is this incredibly dynamic field, deeply connected to technology and playing this essential role in, well, in how we understand and shape our world.
It all comes back to something crucial, whether you're, considering a career in geography or just listening to this deep dive. Geography isn't just about memorizing places, it's about making connections. Understanding that profound relationship between where we live, how we live, the places we experience, it all shapes who we are.
It's like this invisible force connecting us all in ways we probably don't even realize.
Exactly. So I'll leave everyone with this thought. How has geography, whether it's your childhood neighborhood, the city you live in now, even that dream vacation spot you're picturing, how has all of that influenced the person you are today?
What a great point to ponder. It's like you're challenging us all to look at our lives, our experiences through this whole new lens.
Think about it. Keep exploring. Stay curious. You'll be amazed by what you discover.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the incredible world of geography. It's certainly given us a lot to think about.